for the ones that, they have had to deal with the childhood trauma, they're no longer struggling with that. But for them, it's an issue of they're still trying to find themselves in this society, especially when we're coming to friendships. And now when we are grown-ups is when we're realizing we're friendships. You don't just call anyone your friend. For anyone who's struggling with that particular path, how do they go about it as well?
All right. So I think one of the things you need to know that identity is something that you need to be aware of. So it's not just about the environment you have not been exposed to, but also your awareness of identity. So knowing if you're having the right identity or the wrong identity. Otherwise, if you are not aware that you need to have a specific identity, anything that comes in will definitely affect you. Because one of the things we normally tell people, the world is already broken. It's a constant. And sometimes it keeps on sometimes getting worse and worse and worse. If you don't create a specific environment for yourself that defines you, then anything that comes in will definitely define you. So it's not just about, I've not experienced this, but do you actually know what you need to be constantly be defined by? So if you don't know, you'll definitely be waved by specific friends. But if you do know, you will know, like the specific people I actually interact with that actually are connected with the kind of environment I have or what I believe, not just anything,
Wow. And when you talk about friendships, that's where most relationships are birthed. Before you actually say this is my girlfriend or this is my boyfriend or fiance, you have definitely started from friendships. And we're seeing a lot of people who are just being defined in different relationships, especially right now with the celebrities we have, not even mentioning names, but you can tell, in this season they were like this, and then now they come out and say, oh no, I'm always like this. So you tend to ask yourself, do they actually know who they are? And I know we are speaking for a lot of people when you touch on relationships, where you find yourself, you have had to do some things that was not you from the word go. That's not who you are as well. So let's talk about the relationships that have really led us astray.
Okay, so all right, so relationship is a very, very one of the most difficult topics that so many people struggle with, because when it comes to relationship, there's a lot of aspects that comes with it. There's values, there's compatibility, there's friendship and everything. But I think one of the most important thing when it comes to grace is grace empowers you to have that sense of security. One of the things whenever we handle couples and then they come and complain, this one has not been doing this for me, this one has not been doing this for me. But sometimes you actually look at the things that they are constantly demanding from each other. There are things that even if you were the one being demanded for, you can't necessarily fulfill those things. So I think one of the things is we normally give them a task. What are the things that you're actually asking for the other person that you're supposed to actually sometimes even ask from God? There are things that only God can give. There are things that only human beings can give. So are you able to actually differentiate where you're actually supposed to be getting some things from grace, allow that to define you, give you that sense of security, fulfillment, or are you finding these things from another human being, another human? Also the thing about grace, it defines you. You're as Christ. Would Christ actually look at a man to define him? Actually Christ defines you. You actually start asking yourself, if I'm Christ and I'm as him, and then I have this person, would Christ come and start asking, you fulfill me? Can Christ is already complete. He actually supplies to the other person because his completeness is no longer found in another human being. It's found in God, the Father, and he completes him. And as he is complete, so are you. So sometimes you find that the other person is you're trying to be completed by the other person. So that's actually an identity crisis. So, but if you don't find yourself in the wrong identity and find yourself in the right identity, and your only source is the Father as Christ, then it becomes a very nice relationship. So the other person can fail, definitely they will fail, but then as grace. Christ, you extend grace. It becomes really easy because you're not lacking of anything. But if you're already finding yourself in the wrong identity, you will struggle with lack because your beliefs are wrong. You will feel that sense of lack. You will feel that void, and because you're not finding your channel from a very stable foundation, you will break yourself down and you break the other person down, and you'll give them a lot of unnecessary pressure. So it's very, very important. Identity is everything. Sometimes in therapy, when people come in for sessions and we realize, wow, these people are actually looking for to each other something that they're supposed to figure out themselves, we actually ask them to do personal therapy so that they can actually find themselves first. When they come in, they are able like to actually supply to each other and not constantly, because if you ask from this one and then they can't and they can't give you this thing, what happens? You will beat them down. You will treat them badly. You know, you will leave them, you will make them feel worse, you know. But if you actually like constantly supplying, you'll make the other person better, and they're supplying, like the relationship becomes really beautiful. There's a lot of life and light. So sometimes when we bring couples like that in the grace space, we ask them, what are you finding? What are you constantly looking to this one? You're supposed to be looking into grace in your identity. And then you realize that the couple sit down, they're like, wow, I feel like in this relationship I'd even forgotten about God. You know, I think I've left that relationship and focused so much on this person that I forgot that I'm supposed to be finding my identity in him. And then slowly by slowly you realize the couple are coming, they are shining, they went out. I'm like, wait, I asked you to actually like take time, and you're like, no. Imagine I realized like this person liked this and they're shining, and I'm like, okay, all right, fine, let's actually continue from that point, you know. So so that's basically what grace actually does for a relationship, you know.
It's really powerful. I mean, you're speaking and I'm just seeing the power of grace when it comes to identity. I think I'd not seen it that way, because most times we like to make friendships, you know, be in relationships, but we are not focusing on myself first. Am I okay? Am I doing well? Am I able to accommodate even another person? And if you're watching us right now, I hope you're enjoying this conversation. Please take some time and subscribe, like down there, share, tell us the other topics that you'd want for us to handle, and tell us your story when it comes to identity. If you have had any, or now you're realizing yourself in the process, please let us know. We'd love to reach out to you as well and welcome you to this part as well. Maybe you can mention to us or remind us again the therapy sessions you guys conduct, and then of course touch on the Grace Forum, because I know last time some people were really interested to know more about it.
Right. So basically we have we normally provide spaces for therapy, that's virtually or physically. So we have different spaces all around the country and also in different continents as well, you know. So if anybody wants to have individual therapy, they just call in and book in. Either they would like virtual or physical. They'll actually be directed depending on where they're located. So if you're located in Kisumu, you'll be told where the office is, and the therapist will be there as well. You know, so we also have the Grace Forum. So the Grace Forum is where we actually like discuss more on grace, you know, for anyone and everyone who would like to actually grow. If you feel like you don't have, you know, the funds to, you know, to pay for therapy, that's a space you can actually have support that you need to actually grow in grace as well, you know.
It's really amazing. And I know we'll be touching more on Grace Forum now.
All right, so we normally say that the Grace Forum is a place for people who have actually reached to their end. So it's not a person who's actually looking to really use a lot of effort, because you've actually used a lot of effort in different things. So you actually just need a place where you're constantly receiving. So that's why we actually created the Grace Forum for people who maybe do not have money, people who actually don't have even the emotional strength to continue, you know. So you just in a place where you're constantly receiving the encouragement, the grace and everything. So it's located at Outer Ring Road, you know, Pioneer Phase 2, just before you get to roundabout Kariobangi, office 64. So it happens every Sunday at 9 a.m. Latest to start is at 10 a.m. So anybody who would feel like, you know what, I feel like I've reached to my end. It's not necessarily for everything, maybe even for specific areas of your life where you feel, well, I've reached to my end, then this is a place where you come, where you just receive, the grace to actually, for that specific area, or for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. And if you're watching, that could be your moment there where you're saying, umefika mwisho, you just want some help. You just need someone to listen to you. I think that would be a really good time as well to join in on the Grace Forum. But I think when we began this, we had already also talked about people in business. We're going to touch on that. And I know it wouldn't be fair if we not talk about people in business, because I know for them as well, people doing different biasharas here and there, they struggle with identity as well. Let's touch on that.
I think one of the things we normally say is, grace tells you who you are. So we say that your business or anything that you're doing is as strong as your identity. So if you know that you're as Christ, you know that, Christ is successful. So I think what happens with people who go into business, they actually constantly feel like, I'm just trying. I'm trying to make this work. It can go south or go west. So, but the grace identity tells you that as Christ is wealthy and successful, so are you. And grace is an earned and deserved favor. It's not by your effort, by your strength. This is a gift that you're given. So Christ is your gift and your identity. So if you identify yourself as Him, one of the things that you know that He can never be a failure. He can't fail, So when you have that identity, you know that every step you can have challenges, you can have all this, but you know that your path is a path of success. So when your mind is like that as a business person, one of the things that happens is that you become resilient, you expect the best. You always have a positive expectation. And what happens, you'll find the people with the right identity actually move further, and they're more positive and they grow really fast, So.
And it really shows a lot even in terms of performance. Like it could be maybe in your business you don't have a lot of clients, but it's just in the positivity that you bring to your clients.
That's so true.
Every time they just want to connect with you, So I believe that's really, great. And I know we're going to be having more conversations for business people as well. Let's not avoid that direction. I mean, we all need it as well, but unfortunately, time.
I think maybe I can mention. So we do have groups that come in, business people who actually come in to learn grace, especially Christians in business who actually want to know how to actually put in grace in business. And they come after every 2 Saturdays. They come and they just learn. So how am I able to navigate my business, how I respond to things? Because sometimes even a person in business, they may come to a place of desperation where you feel, if this client does not come, I mean, I think this is the only thing I have. But you see, like when you have the right identity, you know that there'll always be supply. If this client does not come, that doesn't mean that
it's the end of the road.
No, there'll always be supply. So it's like grace deliberates you from that space of desperation, including even single people as well. I think that's one thing
that's really important to mention.
So grace still liberates you from that space of desperation where you feel like, I think that's something that has really happened in so many people. I've handled people who are over 40 and they feel like it's the end. I don't feel like I'll ever get married. But grace tells you, as Christ is, so are you. So meaning you can't look at just this person that, but Christ can never lack. The Father will always supply. So it liberates you from that space of desperation and makes you live free of fear. So it removes the fear that makes you not be able to move on or causes you to break down into a mental health situation. So grace is the best thing that can actually happen to any human being,
That's really beautiful. And thank you so much for shedding so much light today. I really learned a lot. I mean, I think we keep saying about grace, but looking at it from a point of identity is a different aspect.
It's very different.
And it's really good that we extend grace to each and everyone around us. You never know what someone is going through.
That's true.
You never know if they are having an identity crisis. And they just need that encouragement. Let's just be kind and extend that grace to people. And I hope that you've enjoyed this episode, by the way. Continue talking to us. We see those DMs, by the way. And we want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And we're going to be having great topics right here, and we can't wait to even feature more people
that's so true.
on this channel as well. So go ahead, tell your friends, subscribe to this channel, like, share, do all that, and let's get the word out there to as many people as possible. So until next time, that is all the time we had. Bye.
Bye.